and they absolutely crushed RRQ, who were also one of the favorites coming in. That 2-0 Evos actually in the opening match. So much action has gone down, has happened, but this Evos SG, the only option, the only way for them to get out, the only solution to this series is that they have to win regardless of what happens.
That's right. And if they do win, which means that they do have the same points with VFM, but because of the head-to-head count, then it may not be favoring the side of VFM. But of course, VFM, one of the most solid contenders in Group A, they're not looking to drop any single points to Evos SG. Now, we see Lolita being one of these favorite bands coming throughout the Group A stages. Now, I think that the Norman Blast, as well as the huge shield coming out, is definitely something that's pretty effective and towards a lot of all these team fights. Same goes to Kaya with that Divine Judgment. Now, Evos is on their first pick, and what should they go for?
Yeah, I think Grog is wide open for both teams, especially Evos when they have the first pick. So for the first few series, Grog has been the primary ban. No one is letting Grog through, but the series between RRQ and VFM kind of showcased that you can afford to let this hero go through the ban phase, because there are ways to take him down, and RRQ proved that to us. We'll see if Evos goes for the traditional Grog pick, and they will.
Yes, they will. And now we're seeing VFM here taking 2 heroes in a row, and I do think that there's so many of all these huge heroes such as Masha, which is consistently being picked across Group A, and of course they're not letting that slide. So this is going to be a tank as well as a fighter for their lineup. So pretty much ease that sort of ease in terms of getting themselves all these sort of priority picks. But Evos here got a few options. Would they want to match Masha right now, as well as pick up either a marksman or a mage?
Yeah, we see, if I'm not mistaken, RQ, when they were up against VFM and they see this power pick coming up, they went for one of their cores first, either the marksman or the mage, and it seems like Evos, they're going to pick up the Valiant first. There is a option to go either for the archive for the tank, or you go for probably another support for Evos SG. But looking at things, maybe Evos wants to play the safe route and just go for that marksman first.
Whoa, now we're looking at carry being picked up. So both the mage as well as marksman for the side of Evos. And Valor, after it gets revamped a couple of patches ago, we've seen a huge sort of power spike as well as high win ratio. So Evos is riding on that train, while Harif will be the pick for the side of VFM. Pretty much safe in terms of what they're up to, because Harith could still double up as a marksman in a sort of sense, but of course it's still considered a mage. Now, heading in towards phase 2, both sides still looking to actually secure themselves a couple of heavy hitters in towards this sort of phase, but Evos now looking to actually get themselves at least a fighter or even a sort of assassin to actually fulfill that entirety of the lineup here. So Evos here will be having one ban as well as VFM. And VFM here, what should they opt for this time around?
Yeah, I think the more obvious pick is going to be like the Tamos, the archive. We talk about the archive either for Evos or VFM, but because Evos opening up with both the carry and the Valiant, the archive doesn't seem so much of a alluring pick to them as it is to VFM. VFM taking out the Esmeralda, which means Tamos is now open. But pretty sure VFM knows that this Tamos isn't really too big of a threat, because it does jeopardize Evos' battle lines if VFM decides to take a fight. And we've seen VFM full aggression. They take a fight 4v5. They don't care, because they believe in their own teammates. They believe in their mechanical skills. And in that previous interview after the game, a series against Impunity, VFM did say, we have studied Evos SG, we have come up with strats to counter them, and maybe this series, maybe this first game, they will pull it out.
It is evident that they've already done their homework here with that Esmeralda ban, because Esmeralda could still sub in as that sort of a secondary tank in a sort of way. And we've seen Evos run double mages from time to time. So I really like that ban coming from inside of VFM, and they immediately pick up that Granger. And with that being said, we're going to see a mage of course, coming in from the side of VFM, which will be the Harif. Now, Evos' turn to actually plot this one now. They still have the Lunox available, but that's a little bit of a greedy pick in that sort of sense. If they do go for it, which will mean that they will lack a little bit of that tankiness. So how will Evos deal with this? It will reply and respond with the Challenger as well as the Tamas pick up there, which we've seen Seoul being really effective on a Tamas.
Yeah, and it's a slight block pick, but VFM, it doesn't matter to them too much. They already got that battle line, they got that frontier established, and probably Minotaur was actually one of the heroes that VFM plays very often, even though it is not prominent in the meta. So they're going to pick up that Cho, the first of his kind, at least for today in Group A.
That's right, and do keep your eyes on Broly because he just picked himself that Cho, which I do believe is heavily contested between the two teams. But now that you see so many squishy units on the side of Evos Esports, I'm a little bit concerned on whether or not can they survive till the late game, because early phase looks really strong from the side of VFM.
Yeah, and if you look at VFM at the same time, Teeny and Hai are, other than Broly, Teeny and Hai are these two really robust cores that you just cannot take your eyes off of them. And VFM, the reason they lost to RQ in that game 3 was just because of those unforced slight errors, but they've kind of learned from that mistake. They've woken up, they've recomposed themselves, and these two cores are not your passive, I want to farm up items. They take the fight straight to your face, and Evos, I'm not sure if they're ready for this kind of aggression from VFM.
That's right, and I do believe that they do have some pretty similar playing style where they're really great at team fighting, and they know when exactly to push for those objectives as well. So we're just going to see all these players duke it out between the best of Singapore and Malaysia, as well as the Vietnamese side. So now, you've already seen the draft. We're about to head into our very first game between Evos SG versus VFM.
Yeah, and it's only day 1 of this World Championship. It's only the first group, but we already have such an intense deciding match. I did not expect myself to say deciding match so soon, but here we are at this pivotal moment between Evos SG, who are temporarily on the back foot because the only way out is to win this series by hook or by crook. And VFM, if they win, they're through.
Oh, whoa, that's a little bit too hasty of the side of Tiny, but of course, being a Masha, you could do as you please. Just slowly proxying the wave, and now Potato just dishing so much damage that Tiny is now left with only 50%, but you know, you could always just regen your HP up as a Masha. Yep, back to 100% we go.
Yep, that is Masha, the lady with the power of the beast. She's gonna unleash that, and we've seen RQ in the very first game itself today. They were the one who brought this Masha. They were the one who showcased how Masha can get such a big gold lead. But they did run the wooden mask instead of your traditional boots. So slightly different plays are coming out from VFM. But we talk about how VFM, they are so good at creating space for objectives. Even against RRQ, sure they lose members, sure they give out Lucky, they give out one tower. But in that particular game, they secured all the turtles and all the lore, and there's something really impressive that you just cannot overlook.
That's right, and now we're seeing some challenges coming in the bottom side. Tiny dropping out low, forced to flicker out, but somehow walks out unscathed, only with a slither of health left.
And what a flicker just behind Oh Dear Bambi. The meteor shower was inches away from connecting on this Masha. So because of that, VFM, they will protect that first per day, but Evos actually, they get the turret in return.
That's right, and VFM as well, they're also getting a whole lot of that advantage inside of jungle, and now JPL almost getting fully clipped out as we see Broly instantaneously responds with a couple of bullets sent his way, but Ace here coming in with 4 members in towards the mid lane. This is going to be Evos SG playing it relatively safely. And over on the top side, that Tamas versus Granger matchup will definitely be pretty much even up because Granger does have enough range. And here comes the very first turtle being contested, and it will be in the hands of Evos SG.
And you see that VFM, they're not able to get the objective. Not able to take the fight as well. Evos SG, they just immediately disengage, respecting VFM's ability to fight in this situation. Even though they have not hit level 4 yet, but Evos SG, they're not taking any risk.
That's right, and I would say that that's a little bit too late for VFM to even respond, or perhaps the best that they can do is just use the retribution to just snatch that one away. But there's a little bit of distance between, and now Soul having to deal with T-Max as well as Broly. There'll be a little bit of that sort of damage being chunked out there from the side of Broly. Now over on the mid lane here, they're responding with a push for themselves as well. Look at how similar both sides are actually playing, that things are still on a stalemate. No kills whatsoever in the span of 3 minutes.
And Evos actually taking a page out of RRQ's book. They kind of learned that you cannot leave this Marsha alone, even for a couple of minutes, because that's what happened during that game with RRQ. So they're just going to commit straight onto that bottom tier 2. A great chill, Lucky getting that Way of the Dragon off, but not able to follow it up, and start trying to turn it around the wall, actually keeping Zhao Piao alive.
That is pretty too close to comfort here. Well, I'm even fumbling on my words on that because I don't really know how to respond. Like, it could have been either side to actually pick up that first blood right there. But T-Max as well as Hyde, we see great rotations coming from the side of VFM. But there's going to be a little bit of that setup coming from Evos SG because the next turtle will be spawning over our lower side of the river. And they're pretty much on their way, while Tamus is having some great free push over on the top side.
Oh, Lucky, not really sure if that is the kick that he was looking for, but he did manage to send this Grog far away from the rest of his team. And I like what Evos actually is trying to do. If you get the tier 2 bottom, you're forcing this Marsha to go to top, which Teeny is already doing so. But because of the early deficit, there's no way she can fight this time. Was forced to flicker away to safety. Meanwhile, VFM will start a fight immediately in the bottom corner of the map. Potato managing to get out with that flicker. Zhao Piao as well, escaping. Glorious pathway use as well by the Hylos as VFM tries to secure this second turtle.
Great natural push coming in from the bottom side as well. They managed to secure the very first tower over on the top. And now we're looking at Zhao PL enacting a lot of all that pressure as a Grog. This is how every team should be playing a Grog, so offensively to keep enemies at bay. Now we're looking at a little bit of that goal lead headed over to the side of Evos. And now they're already bringing the help down low for the side of the turtle. And great wall charge over on T-Max to force that flicker away. And look at Hyde. He's getting chunked up by the Meteor Shower. That will be first blood for the Valor as Lucky stranded in between. And Zhao PL, the next one to fall. And same goes to the Chow that's caught right off. And look at that. Great Bloodless Axe has already been purchased from the side of the Tamus, and now he's hopping right in, forces a flicker out of these members of BFM.
And for the second time, Lucky was not able to follow up with that ultimate. He did send Zhao Piao to within the range of his turret, but because he didn't follow up, he wasn't able to survive that engage. Now T-Max taking the brunt of that, should be able to stay alive a bit more, has to use that ultimate just for the extra regeneration. And Evos actually, they'll keep out the pressure, not able to take down that mid turret still though. Lucky again a bit far from home, they're gonna block him out with that wall, and it seems like Evos SG, they smell blood, they find one, and High is not gonna be able to hide from this one. Double kill for Ace.
Oh, I'm not too sure what he was actually thinking right there, because it's really too dangerous for him to face check in that sort of sense, and he went in for the flicker, trying to actually get in position to actually use the Way of the Dragon, but that was way too much for him, as there's 3 members of the side of Evos SG to respond. And looking at that, T-Max can only hold on for so long. Righteous Pathway being used into effect, and lucky enough, they did stall a little bit of time. Look at the gold craft right here as Evos Esports are looking to extend it to a 5K goal lead.
And coming into this, we expected VFM to be the one to start the fight, and they kind of did at the turtle pit.
As Evos Esports are looking to extend it to a 5K goal lead.
And coming into this, we expected VFM to be the one to start the fight, and they kind of did at the turtle pit, but never happened because Evos actually didn't want to give it to them. And now Evos actually, they recognize their advantage, they identify those opportunities. They are now on the aggressors, and Lucky's Cho not being able to get that effectiveness that he wants.
That's right. I love all these huge items that have been purchased. We've seen the Bloodlust Axe, Athena Shield, and a whole lot of all these stuff like Endless Battle as well. So I'm looking at Evos Esports here, having a great power spike, and now look at the damage coming out from the side of Oh Dear Bambi, tackling over on the side of T-Max. Not enough to bring him down, but they will have to give up this tower in the mid lane.
This is just smart play from Evos SG. They don't take fights. They just want the objectives. You push VFM back. They know that VFM cannot contest all this wave. The only wave clear that they have is in the Granger, maybe a bit in the Harry, but they have to kind of be in close proximity, which VFM does not want to happen without that robust front line. And because of that, Evos actually, they're just going to take structure after structure. One last outer tier turret to go, and Evos actually will be looking at high ground.
That's right, and well, heading in towards their third turtle of the game. Potato is going to solo this all by himself without any sort of a hassle at all. Well, over the top side, there's still immense pressure coming from the side of JLPL. If there's going to be an MVP, and I don't want to crown it so prematurely, but he has been so effective in all of these battles.
And meanwhile, Teeny is trying his best to go for those split push, but So will find him. And this, the 1v1 that we call it legendary in the previous broadcast. Teeny not wanting to fight this, but So is not going to let him go. Backup does arrive.
Well, I think it's really pointless to actually chase over Masha at this point of time because she's got that movement speed. She's got so many layers of health. So if you were to actually take down one Masha, it will take about 3 members at the very least.
Yeah, Wild Power just gives her that so much more mobility, and as long as you push the Masha away from resources, that is as equivalent to killing her because she will be ineffective. And again, they do find a hideout. The Deadly Sonana does come out, and look at Zhao Piao, the guy that says creating a lot of space. He gets kicked back, Way of the Dragon. Lucky though, not able to convert that into anything, and he ends up losing his life. And Evos actually, they'll claim another one, and they might be able to set up for Lord.
That was definitely a perfect macro play because you talk about the setup here. They're going to create one more before going in for the Lord. Meteor shower from the Oh Dear Bambi to secure a kill. Flicker being popped from the side of Soul as well. Now we see all 4 members on the top side. They want to secure that tower, and perhaps they might just be able to break it open before even Lord spawns up.
Yeah, VFM falling apart, and this is not the same VFM that we saw this morning, that we saw in the previous 2 series. In this deciding game, as fatigued as both teams are, it seems like Evos SG are the more composed one, and Lucky goes for another face check. Not able to be killed off just yet, but seems like she's playing with fire at this point, and Ace and Zhao Pia would just push him back. Now back up, he said the Potato is there, and he will finish the job.
Well, it took them long enough to actually back him up, but look at T-Max getting stuck in between as well with the right to Bambi. Tiny! Oh my goodness, he's still surviving. And then now here comes the Flicker as well, bringing down T-Max. And oh my goodness me, Evos Esports have taken down 4 members, and now it's only down to Broly. Let's have a little bit of recap, brought to you by U-Mobile.
And just look at Oh Dear Bambi, meteor shower on point on all the necessary calls, and by the time we thought that Marsha got the kill, but Chang'e was the one melting through VFM, and Evos actually 10 minutes in, they're knocking on the doors of VFM.
Oh my, look at how hungry these Tigers are. The Tigers from Singapore might just be able to secure game point number 1 heading in towards the series.
What an amazing performance from Evos actually. Clean, crisp, there's no other way to put it. In this game against VFM, who was so dominant, who looked so strong that they seemingly have the advantage over Evos SG on paper, but game 1 proved otherwise.
Yes, and indeed, we're looking at both sides here having a long stalemate in the first 3 minutes of the game, but that silence